to another edition of Schmoedown Night in Canada. Yes, we have a lot of these lately. Yes, we do. I am your friendly neighborhood soda, and once again, I'm joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Dave Lees. How you doing, Dave?
You know what? I'm doing great on most days because I get to talk Schmoedown Night in Canada. Other nights, not so much when I have to edit all the Schmoedown nights in Canada and make sure that those are getting out to the fine people. But you know what? I'm also having a good time editing the newest episodes of Northern Consultations, and we have a really exciting one coming out tomorrow, don't we, Soda?
Yes, we do. Coming up is none other than Tim Sim. Now, his is a name that you might not recognize, but if you frequent the Facebook group, you will definitely recognize it. He always puts up the master posts. He's actually written for the Old Trivia at Steve website. He's moderator all over the place. He's even an executive producer on the Schmoedown recap show over on John Rocco's channel, which unfortunately the name is slipping me at the moment. But yeah, he's actually very much involved in behind the scenes, and I thought, it would be a great opportunity to sit down and talk to him and see what's like behind the scenes. So definitely check that one out.
Yeah, for sure. I've had the pleasure of seeing it. I think it's fantastic. And to make sure you don't miss any episodes of Northern Consultations or this show, Schmoedown Night in Canada, make sure you like and subscribe. Mostly hit that subscribe button. It takes no time at all. You could have already done it by now.
Yes, sir. So we might as well just hop right into it. So we had two excellent matches to start off the week this week, didn't we? What were the matches there, Dave? Sorry.
So when you're talking about perfect matches, like that's exactly what we had. We had 4 top tier players playing, and nowhere was that more evident than in Barbarian versus Bibiani, which when that's the match on Monday, you're in for a good week.
Oh, for sure. It's like watching, put it in the hockey parlance, it's like watching Wayne Gretzky versus Sidney Crosby, the best of their generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just to jump right into that first match, you're talking about the best of the generation, and you see Bibbs and the promo that I had caught a little bit of on Facebook before I decided, no, I want to see this in the Nerd Chronic video. Being like, did you guys go out and get a new me and stuff? I thought that was fantastic. And then him saying, and then recapping it at the start of his little intro talk with Christian and Mark, being like, let's run it all down again. This is how we're the same, but I'm still here. We don't need another beast. I loved all that.
Yeah, the similarities between them. I honestly never really thought about it until this match.
It's because there aren't actually that many similarities until you lay everything out on until you lay it all out on paper. There's not that many glaring similarities. But then once you start getting into and immediately swept up by John Roca's faction, had a perfect first game, and his name starts with a B. You're like, yeah, I get it. I'm running out of hands to count these things.
Yeah, and honestly, it was definitely a great battle of skill. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah, it barely even hazard to even say skill. This was just like 2 big brains slamming into each other, because the number of questions that were missed in this match was 1. And that's an insane number.
Yeah, and as Bibb said at the very end, this was his very first perfect game.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that when you think about the Beast. But because you think of him so much as having so many perfect round ones. But oftentimes, it's round 2. He does check down to multiple choice, as all competitors do. And then for a while, there was that stigma about him falling apart in the 3rd round. Completely gone, as it has been for a while. But this just further cemented. Bibiani is someone who, when we talk about the greats and we talk about the champions, oftentimes, and this is evident a couple weeks back when I was on the show with Dan we were talking about like who was champion here. Bibiani often is like, oh yeah, he was champion. And he even brings that up where he's like, oh, I feel like no one's ever called me a legend to my face before, but he really is a champion in all senses of the word. And again, and everyone said this, the most knowledgeable person in the Schmoedown.
Oh, for sure. And it's very evident. Like, I mean, not many people could pull out that Bugsy Malone answer that was his 5-pointer.
Not many people could pull out the Charlotte Webb question in the first round. Who remembers Charlotte's Web?
I remember the cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And we like now I don't even know. Was there a live action Charlotte's Web that they were referring to?
I'm trying to remember if it was live action or not. I think it was. I guess
Dakota Fanning, it's probably live action.
Trying to think if it was just, you know what, I'm gonna look that up because I never saw it myself, but
while you're looking that up, that is just the insane, going back to it, the fact that the Barbarian,
it was live action. It was live action. Yeah,
it was a live action movie, but even then that's even more impressive because I think we often think about the cartoon that we've all seen. And when the Barbarian writes Abigail Bresnan instead of Dakota Fanning in that first round, I think that sets you in that age range and that time period where the animated, because when did the animated one come out? Like it was late 80s, 90s?
Yeah, it was definitely the 80s.
Yeah.
Let's see, Charlotte's Web.
I just remember Templeton the Rat. Shout out to my homie.
So the original film was 1973.
Jesus.
Yeah, and the one that this question referred to was 2006. Yeah,
there's a lot of Charlotte. I didn't think Charlotte's Web would get this much play on the show, but I'm happy it has. Because again, shout out to Templeton.
Yeah, for sure. It's a depressing movie. I will say that.
It really is. I want to talk about the Barbarian for a second because we're kind of just, the thing about this match is outside of the Charlotte's Web miss that I think we talked about, there isn't really that much to talk about when everyone plays exactly how they're supposed to. I think the Barbarian going in round 2, even he only checks down to multiple choice twice, and you think when he does that, and then Bibbs only has to clear a 5-point difference in round 2, you're like, well, Bibbs is going to TKO this. But the Barbarian shows such tenacity and such fire, and his knowledge is just all on display in this match that I am so excited for what we get to see of the Barbarian in his sophomore season.
Oh, for sure. Do you think he's still going to be with the Finstock Exchange?
Not a chance. I think, I believe I was on the show with you where I said, I think Ben Bateman is going to take the Barbarian and go to some manager and say, you're going to sign both of us. We are playing as a team for you next year.
Now, if Riley decides to leave with Bateman, do you think Barbarian's going to be stay with the Finstock Exchange? Because I could see them staying together.
I think the way they've talked about it and the way Ben has talked about who's the boss, and it's like, oh yeah, we have played our last match together, probably. And I think even though they are still a winning team at like 7-3, I believe is the final top out of who's the boss. I think when you get so close so many times and you just can't close it, it's kind of like Wolves of Steel. They ended with a winning record.
Yeah.
But if you can't, once you take a couple shots at it, it's time to change things up. And Riley and Bateman have been playing together. This would be their 3rd season now. Let's change things up. Let's see who Riley can play with next year. And I think a Barbarian Bateman team, especially with the way you hear Bateman talking about the Barbarians, the only best trainer in the game, and he's the only person who's ever had my back in this faction. I think stuff like that is really laying the groundwork for the two of them to be a very dominant team next year.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. I just have a hard time seeing the Barbarian leaving, but I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong on that one because I mean, it's with the top talent the Finstock Exchange has, it's going to be really hard to choose.
It's going to be really, really tough. Tom would have to sell, I don't need everything in the world. He'd have to get everything in the world and sell it all for 4 more first-round draft picks because there will be very few people.
Yeah.
Like, if he's going to be able to keep, I believe he will probably still have the Founding Fathers at the end of the year. But I think the Barbarian and Ben walk out. We'll see what happens with Mark Riley. We'll see what happens with Sabrina Ramirez, Emily Rose. We'll see what happens with them. But back to the Barbarian, the thing that most impressed me about him in this match is he saves all of his repeats until his 5-point question. And that is one of the questions that I often have a hard time just even coming up with how I would attack, where it was like Scorsese directed 6 films in the 90s and all of them got Oscar nominations except for this one. What is the one? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know how to handle that. But he just very calmly, you can see him counting on his fingers and he works his way through that. That's something that really shows a high level of not only commitment to the game, but just an overall knowledge.
Yeah, and it definitely shows just his ability to work the game because it right there was an example of what Bateman said. He's a good teacher. He's a good, he's good at what he does, and we saw it right there. Like I'm sitting there watching, and I can only think of Goodfellas and Casino as a '90s film. I didn't know.
What is your? I know we don't usually get into like dissecting questions, but what is your feeling about that style of question where it's more of a riddle than it is like not more of a riddle, but it's like more this like abstract way of asking the question? Where do you come down on something like that?
I think it's a great utilization as a 5-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
Because 5-pointers are supposed to make you reach into the depths of your brain, of your knowledge, and that one really did. Because that is definitely one of Scorsese's lesser known movies, and it takes a guy with the knowledge of the Barbarian and Bibbs to figure that one out.
Yeah, there's so much you have to unpack there because then you hear they give you he directed this many films in the 90s. So then immediately you have to think, what were those 6 or 8 films or whatever the question was asking for? 6. And then what are okay, it's obviously not Goodfellas. Lots of stuff there. And then just being able to work Casino, and it's like being able to work yourself backwards to get to an answer. If he did not have all those repeats, I don't think he gets there.
And what's funny enough is actually a little bit of a foreshadowing. We had a similar question as a 5-pointer in the second match we're going to cover.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It is Scorsese again.
Yeah, it's Scorsese. And, it's where you got to figure out name 2 of blah, 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 which we will talk about when we get to the match. But yeah, that's funny. That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, but I'm very excited to see that. And I love seeing those massive polls that competitors can get, especially when it's someone like the Barbarian. I'm sad that we probably won't see him again for the rest of the year, but that's just why I want a losers bracket next year.
A losers bracket?
Yeah, I want like a double, like, you get knocked out and then you play. Yeah. You get knocked out. You go down to the losers bracket. Eventually, a winner of the losers emerges to face the winner of the winners.
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. I like that. That would definitely be different.
That's how the problem is it's twice as many matches. So
Yeah, we already had a hard time covering this amount.
you know what? Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. I would love to see it, and it's a lot like how showing my Canadian flair here. It's a lot how the Briar, the curling championship, handles everything.
Yeah, I'm very Canadian, and even I don't know that.
Yeah, I just got to curl. All right. So I loved seeing. We're only going to talk about this match for a little bit longer because, again, there's not much to talk about when they go perfect.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bibiani had such a confidence in this match that I don't know that we've ever seen. Maybe since his first match, where it was just very. You see him. Every question in round 2 is like, it's this, and he just goes like that. And same thing in round 3. He didn't use a single repeat. The only time he looked worried was when he guessed on Dakota Fanning for Charlotte's Web. What do you think this confidence is going to do for him going into the rest of the tournament? Because he's going up against Liz Shannon Miller next.
Well, it all boils down to what he said after the match for me, and that is he finally found his crew, I guess you could say. Like, he finally found his friends, because that was his whole thing from the very beginning, was finding a sense of belonging and trying to find people like him. And he says that finally he has it with the Quirky Mercs, and it is the greatest feeling in the world. And I have a feeling that's where his confidence comes from. And if he won a title without that confidence, he can do wonders with the confidence he has now with the Quirky Mercs behind him.
I think so too, and I really hope that Bibbs is able to continue winning and the kid's able to continue winning, so we see the two of them going up against each other in the semifinal. And I think that would be fantastic to see that level of confidence and that level of camaraderie that you see from both of them.
Yeah,
based on the way they talk about each other.
Harlock nailed it on the head a long time ago when he said that Bibiani is the Mick Foley of the Schmoedown. He's a guy you can't root against. You just love him. He's like a living Muppet.
Yeah, and I really think I was very concerned that Bibiani is such a character that we were going to lose that going into the digital era. And we haven't at all.
Nope.
I love his tiger that he had today. Fabian. I love him talking about what Elvis is. And that was all just everything that Bibbs says. He's embracing. He has this confidence about him that I really love seeing. And I think it's coming out even more in the digital era. He just doesn't have the extravagant entrances.
Just got one question for you. How do you feel about his Dutch angle tilt camera shot?
It bothers me so much, Soda. Like, that is the one thing. Yeah. That's the one thing. And I think I wish I could go back in time, because I didn't notice it until when he played his first match with Shazam against Final Exam. I didn't notice it.
Really? Yeah, me neither. I just noticed it on this match.
But then my cat tripped me. And I picked myself up, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. And now that's all I can see. I love it, but I hate it so much.
Yeah, it definitely is a one way to differentiate himself. That's for sure.
It sure is.
And it's a very Bibbs thing to do. It really is.
It's such a Bibbs thing to do. And I'm just gushing about it. I hate it because it messes with my brain, but I just love it from just the little character that he can get in there. It's so good. Now, before we move on to the next match, he's going up against Lightning Liz Shannon Miller next. How do you think that's going to go for him?
I think he's going to eke it out just based on experience playing the game. Because now that this Shannon Miller has her own confidence, she's going to take him to the limit. But yeah, I think for this one, it's going to come down to experience.
I agree. I think this is going to be a really tight match. And I think Bibiani he is in the linchpin position for the entire season right now, I think.
Mm.
Is him taking out the Barbarian here puts all the pressure for the Finstock Exchange on Mark Riley. And if Swag has Oyama, Liz Shannon Miller, Lon Harris left in the tournament, if Bibbs can take out Liz Shannon Miller and maybe Adam Collins or the kid takes out, well, more importantly, if Bibbs can take out Liz Shannon Miller, I think the Quirky Mercs have a real chance to make a fourth quarter push with this tournament and the teams tournament coming up to challenge for that top spot, because a lot of those top three are standing in the way, are going up against each other or the Quirky Mercs.
Mm-hmm. You think they have the shot?
They're down by 10 points right now. Or I think it's only 7 points now after this Bibiani win. Or it might be 10 after the Bibiani win. I don't know. But with the match we're about to talk about, that takes Swag a little bit of their momentum away.
Mm-hmm.
Finstock Exchange is now only down to Mark Riley, and Corruption is down to just
Adam Collins.
Adam Collins. The Kid and the Beast are still both in it, and I think if the two of them can make it to that semifinal, they'll playing each other. That guarantees one of them in the final. They have a team's title match coming up. I think they will definitely. There's a good chance that they could turn this 3-horse race into a 4-horse race, and it may all come down to, can Bibbs get past Liz Shannon Miller?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a third straight all one faction final. I wouldn't be surprised if we got the Kid versus Bibbs.
Well, we can't. They're on the same side of the bracket.
Well, fuck.
If the Kid beats either Lon or Adam Collins, whoever he plays, and Bibbs beats Liz, then they play each other.
Poop.
Sorry to burst your bubble, Soda.
All right. Well, we should get on to the next match.
Yeah, the next match, and like I said, it's Swag versus the Rockstar. Jeff Snyder versus Paul Oyama rematch from
round
New York. Round 2.
Yeah.
What was your, just going into this, what were your thoughts about this match?
I really didn't want Snyder to win. Okay, I like Snyder outside of the Schmoedown. I do not like him in the Schmoedown. I think he's a jackass. I wish he'd put on a shirt. Yeah, I was hoping Oyama would win, but god damn it if he didn't come close.
I love this match. I hated it because it's been a rough week for me, where both Chance and Oyama, who were in my bracket I filled out, were playing for the final with Oyama winning it all. Both of them got knocked out.
Yeah.
I completely have changed on Snyder. I loved him in the Patriots, and I was like, love it, love it, love it. Then there was a couple, I never really vibed with him in the Odd Couple for the last couple seasons. Don't know what it is. I think it's just a little too out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think being in his own home has made him like a little more contained. And I love his jackass appearances on like backstage and wherever it is. I'm like, this is it. This is what I need Chandru to be.
Oh God.
Because Chandru is just this, but thinks he's a good guy. Jeff knows exactly what he's doing, and he loves it.
That's all we need is 2 Snyders. Fuck.
I'm just like, we don't, but maybe we do. Who knows? But Snyder, I love, even in his, I forget if it was in his promo package or his little chat with Mark and Christian before the match, but talking about like, I am a deadly player. You know what? Screw it. I'll go play Inner Geekdom, and it's after all the shitting he's done on Inner Geekdom and stuff.
I don't think he'd do well.
No, he wouldn't at all. But I love that just confidence. at the beginning of the year, Roxy, who had the second overall draft pick, was saying, "Oh yeah, it's really exciting that me and Jeff and Draco, we all get to stay together." And there was all this talk about Snyder saying, "Well, that's if we're available. Sam might take us first. You know, I'm kind of the best player of all time." Yeah. And then him saying, you know, Dan Murrell's not the best player of all time. He's never beaten me. I just love it so much. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I am all in. I want Jeff Snyder to win this whole goddamn tournament.
Really? You want to see Snyder Murrell? I think that would actually be a great match.
Not only that, but could you imagine the intensity that would come from a Snyder in the finals after he's just marched his way to the finals, taking out no one. He wasn't supposed to win any of his matches. I was on this show saying Robert from Late to the Party is going to embarrass Jeff Snyder. I said that in our tournament preview special.
Yeah.
Everyone said this is going to be a repeat of New York. Oyama is going to take Snyder's lunch money. And Snyder was also the last hope for the Rock Stars in this tournament.
Yeah, that's right. He is. Yeah.
So everyone was saying this is it. Rockstar's season is done. You know, Snyder, he's talking all this game. It's clear he's just trying to get attention before he fades into obscurity. My God, I am so on board for Snyder right now. I want him to win it all.
Yeah. You know, it would be fun if you won it all, because I could just imagine like the tension in that title match between Murrell and Snyder, you know?
Yeah, it would be so good. But let's talk. This specific match, though, was so entertaining, and we talked about perfection in the last game, and it only coming down to Barbarian missed one question. Only two questions missed in this entire game as well. One from Snyder in round one, and Paul 5.
Yeah. That's insane. And
we just don't get matches like that.
No, we don't. And when he spun Audrey Hepburn, I was like, and he decided to keep it. I'm like, okay, let's see how much this young kid knows. He didn't even need to go to his multiple choice.
That Paul Oyama continues to impress me. Yeah. Similar to Dan said this before in our show. I was always on the Oyama train last year. I understand why he wanted to change it up this year, and I like this like more laid back Paul, but god damn, he is so good. And you know, Bateman has said this on past streams, and other people have said it. There's no reason someone that young should know the answers he knows, but he just does.
Right.
And when Oyama puts up 9 points in the first round, especially after he does the same thing against Marisol Marquis in the last round, I'm like, yeah, this is just it. This is Oyama is dialed in the entire time. Snyder and him both go perfect in the second round, and I'm like, it really sucks that Snyder missed that in round one.
You could tell that was getting at him in the second round. Every time Paul was answering a question, you could see in his face, he's like, son of a bitch.
He was like, check to multiple once. Because I thought, man, this is going to suck. Because with the momentum that they had, and this was actually also the first match that Roxy Stryer really clicked for me. I've been pretty vocal about my like not feeling Roxy as a manager, but when she comes in and Jeff's already being like, you know, I should have had it. I should have had that one. She's like, you don't. That's the last time you say that, and it immediately is like recentering him. I was all in on Roxy Stryer, and I'm like, man, she is showing what managing in the digital age should be.
Yeah,
and it's working so well.
She's perfect for Snyder. He needs someone to like, proverbially, you know, to metaphorically smack him upside the head and, you know, fucking give him tough love. And she's Boston strong. She's perfect for that.
Yeah, and What was Snyder's category again? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. That's a category. Whenever someone gets an actor or an actress, I don't expect them to go perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's always that one that trips them up. And goddamn, Snyder just that entire round, just hit after hit after hit. Similar to what I was saying about Bibbs, he had this confidence about him in the way he was answering questions. And it really showed through. And I was like, it's going to suck that he's going to lose this match because he missed that first question in round one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's the way it was definitely looking going into round number 3. Like, fuck, that's all it's going to be is one question. One question.
Yeah, and Snyder, people have said this before, is a guy who, if things aren't going his way, he can get in his own head. And you said this yourself, like you can see it on his face in round 2 when Paul's answering questions. He looks like he's getting a little in his head. Mm-hmm. And as if to tell me, go fuck yourself, Dave. Just the confidence at which he said his round 3 answers, unfathomable. And then his 5-pointer, taking all of his GTE rules to make sure he said it exactly right.
You think he knew it was pulling a Bateman? That's what I was thinking.
I don't think so, because Snyder has been critical of that in the past.
Yeah, but still, he's such a shit heel. It doesn't mean he wouldn't do it.
Oh, yeah. Maybe, but I really think that based on the way his post-match interview went, I don't think he was milking it.
Okay.
Because he was so defeated after he answered his question. He's like, I left it all out on the court. Nothing else I can do. And he even says, he's like, I had this whole big victory thing planned and it just went away. When they popped up and your winner, Jeff Snyder, I expected like an explosion like we saw when he played Robert from like the party. It was like, I'm coming for you, Yama, but like, I'm coming for you, Riley. But he was so sure he had lost that I think he just used all those repeats to make sure that he left it all out on the court, like I said, and he got those 5 points.
Yeah, he really did. It was like the equivalent of 2 boxers going the distance.
Yeah. Oh, Yama's 5 also extremely difficult, in my opinion. Fair 5-pointer, but God, I feel for people when they get a question like this.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm probably one of the few that got it because it's one of my favorite Scorsese films. Probably the one I've watched the most.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of like, this is the question I was mentioning earlier, where it's like it's 2 straight questions back to back, 5-pointers like that, where it's like you got to name something. And I think those are the best type of 5-pointers because they make you have to think. And in that movie, you've got so many gangs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got the Bowery Boys, you got the Dead Rabbits, you had the Natives, you had the Plug Uglies,
I've seen the movie and I couldn't have told you all of that. I had the rabbits and that was it. And the fact that Paul, it's so much harder. It must be hard for Paul going at the situation of not 50%. If they had asked for one of the gangs,
he would have had it.
I would have got it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he couldn't pull that second one is just so tough.
Yeah, especially after answering every single question prior to that correctly without going to multiple choice.
Yeah, like when you look back on the record books, if it's just accuracy rating, Snyder and him had the exact same accuracy rating in this game. The difference is where the questions, where the miss came, and that's just the way the game is played. And most matches are going to be won and lost in situations like this.
Yeah,
But man, I feel so much for Oyama, and I'm excited to see how he takes this loss into the teams tournament, and because final exam should be pretty favorably seated.
Yeah, I'd say they're going to be up at the top. And, Roxy was right going out after the end of the second round. She said to Jeff, it's just 2 points. It doesn't matter. It's just 2 points.
Yeah, and Daniel, I brought this up when he and I covered the Mark Riley video Drew match, where he was trying to figure out what the worst lead to have in Schmoedown is based on the 3 goals or is the worst lead to be up in hockey. There we go. I almost said every other sport.
When you call yourself Canadian.
Come on, man. I had Tim's 3 times today.
Oof. Okay. Touche.
Anyway, but the 2-point lead really is the worst lead that you can have, because getting there, 3 points, okay, they got to hit at least 2 to make me answer any questions. And then all I got to do is hit my 2 and my 3, and they'll miss on their 5. But being up 2, it's almost like it doesn't matter. And it's just who can hit more of their 3 questions correct.
Mm. Yeah, no, you're definitely not wrong. It is a tough one, because especially against players of this caliber, it's really a crapshoot when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I want next season for this match to be run back. We very rarely, I feel like more often than not, we've gotten trilogies completed, but the Oyama Snyder trilogy, I think, is something I need completed, because after a not great match from either one, and they both said that in their interviews, in New York, to this drag out scrap, I want one of them to be the champ and the other one to come.
You were reading my mind. You were reading my mind. The only way to make the rubber match epic would be Snyder as the champ going in.
Yeah, and you know what? If my hopes and dreams are alive, then anything can happen.
Yeah, you better start praying, boy.
So Snyder, though, he's going to be going up against. Actually, you know what? Before we even get into that, what did you think? We've all been fans of the Schmoedown for a while, and Jeff Snyder, I said before, I was a fan of him on the Patriots, and this game brought me back and made him a fan again. I think it is really the moment at the end where he is just so somber, and he breaks the douchey character. The only other time I can think of him doing that is at a spectacular where we defeat the Patriots defeat above the line, and he drops to the floor. It's like, I was doing this for my mom who had just passed away recently. Yeah. And it's like, and these moments, Jeff Snyder, where does he come? Like, those moments are so relevant and poignant, and I think bring more to his character. And now that I've started listing all these accomplishments of his, like being on the Patriots, defeating Oyama, now having these fantastic runs, does Jeff Snyder deserve a spot on Rushmore?
Yeah, for sure. He's the only player to have won the team's title with 2 separate teams.
Roka did it.
Sorry?
Roka did it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, he was the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No. Top 10. That was so long ago. He definitely deserves it. He's been around a long time. He's been a great player. He's been involved in a lot of epic matches. Like I said, was the first to win the team titles with 2 belts. He went on an incredible run with the Patriots. Of course, he deserves to be in consideration on Mount Rushmore. He's definitely like in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, I often say for Mount Rushmore, and I've really only brought this up because I never got to say on camera the way I always think about Mount Rushmore is and I'm not an American, so I don't know if there's any actual relevance to whose head is whose, but as far as I know, there's 4 heads on Mount Rushmore. And we have 4 divisions. So I think Mount Rushmore very easily should be Dan for singles,
Yeah.
Snyder for teams, Cushing for Inner Geekdom, and Alex Damon for Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Mount Rushmore, those four, they were decided based on the impact they'd had on American history. So if that's usually the criteria, and Snyder has, whether you like him or not, he's had a great impact on this
10-0. Well, yeah. I don't think it will ever be done again.
Nope, never.
No.
Now. Granted, it was done in a different era, but still, man, it doesn't matter what era you're in. You need a certain type of skill and the right partner, and that's what it was. It was lightning in a bottle.
You play the opponents on the field. We don't go back and say that Gretzky is any less good because of when he played. He's still the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's when you start getting into the semantics of it, like, oh, he was surrounded by like all these great players and stuff, but still, the guy has more assists than anybody else has points.
Exactly. That's a stat that always gets me.
That's a 100% legit stat.
No, I know. Brother, come on, Canadian. That's a stat that just every time someone vocalizes it, just blows my mind again.
I know, right?
So Jeff Snyder, back to what I was about to say, though, he's going up against two-time champ Mark Riley. Mm-hmm. One of them is a two-time singles champ. One of them is a two-time teams champ.
Yeah.
Which one of these champs is going to come out on top?
See, it's hard to say because I'm with you. I could definitely see Snyder winning the thing now, but I don't know. Like, Riley definitely has it in him to go one more time, right? And it's a tough one. It really is.
I don't think it's tough. I think this is Snyder's. I think if you look back, and I think Mark Riley is a really good competitor. Yeah, I think he's a fantastic player, and he has a lot of moments of amazingness, if you will. But if you look at the way they're playing right now, Riley has had a not great teams match with Who's the Boss, and then he's had two like real squeakers against Perry and Video Drew. Snyder, on the other hand, has gone near perfect in back-to-back matches. Now you can say, is Snyder burning too hot and he's going to burn out while Riley climbs?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I got to go with the hot hand, and I think Snyder's going to take it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But based on history, if Snyder gets the one category he doesn't want, man. But that's probably just a one-time thing.
I don't think because I actually went back and I watched the clip because it's on the Schmoedown Quick Clips channel called Snyder Gives Up. And I was thinking, when was that? Because I couldn't place it.
That was last year.
It was not last year.
Really?
No, it was that. I also thought that. I thought it was like post-Anarchy, post everything. I thought it was like around the time he was the team's champion. Mm-hmm. He was still in the Lions Den when that happened.
Really?
Yeah, you can go back lower third. That was after that was when Sam in between Above the Line Patriots 2 and 3. Oh. It was in there. So he had lost the team's belt. And this was on Bibiani's road to getting to the number one contender spot.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it was that long ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was. I didn't realize that either because I thought for sure that he was with Roxy at the time, but he was still technically a part of the Lions Den.
Wow.
This was pre-Anarchy days. So I don't think we're ever going to get that Snyder again. I really do believe.
I hope so either, because that was not good.
No. I think believing that we're going to ever get that Snyder again is a huge mistake. And I don't think anyone could do that against Snyder unless maybe he's playing Bibbs again. Because I don't see Riley putting like 70s or something on the wheel against him.
Yeah.
Especially when Riley has not had the hottest hand recently. I think the two of them.
The only way I could see Riley doing something like that is if he put like Harry Potter on the wheel.
Well, you can't do that right now.
Yeah, you can't. Sorry, what? You can't?
No, you can put the Intergeekdom slice on the wheel, but you can't put a specific category.
Now, see, if he were to put that on, then we would see Snyder. That would probably be the closest we see to another Snyder meltdown. You think?
You say that, but you look back at Who's the Boss versus Odd Couple. Do you remember what the round 2 category was?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
It was Star Wars, and I think I don't know when they get the wheel, but I'm under the impression it's a couple days before where you see what's on the wheel. And if you see a comic book movie slice or something like that, I think you go to Andreyko and you're like, even though he says I don't study, I think now that he's got a taste and he is 3 matches away from a title, going up against Ryan. That at some point you got to say, okay, I'm going to do at least a little studying.
Yeah, like we're not in the era anymore where knowledge is supreme. It's not. That's the way it is.
You say that, but Snyder just beat Oyama, and Snyder is
fair enough, but it will come back to bite him in the ass.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think Snyder really is the last of that old guard. I don't study because I think even Ethan Irwin is studying now.
Yeah, there's a reason people like me don't play in the NHL anymore. It's because everything's evolved. No, seriously, if you look at back in the old days, they looked more like me than they did like, Mr. America.
Yeah, but I think it's Snyder is proving he is the longer Snyder stays in the tournament, he is laughing at the Ben Batemans and the Oyamas of the world being like, I'm not even studying. And maybe that's just a tactic. Maybe he's got his study guides and he's in there like 6 hours a night studying. But I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. I just know that if it is true that he's not studying, it will come back to bite him in the keister at some point.
At some point, I hope he wins the tournament before that happens, though.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Because, again...
Honestly, like I said, I may not like Snyder, but he deserves to win the title.
Yeah, and against, I think the Rock Stars, I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but I think the Rock Stars are in a very interesting position to play spoiler to the rest of the league. Because if Jeff beats Snyder, and
if Jeff beats Snyder,
if Jeff beats Snyder, the only person who can beat Snyder is himself. If Snyder beats Riley,
trip to Timmy's.
If Snyder beats Riley, that's it for the Finstock Exchange in the singles tournament.
Yep.
And I think then it's really interesting when you look at that side of the bracket. It's really, we got the Den, the Dungeon, the Rock Stars, the Usual Suspects, and then one Finstock Exchange member.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of points for these lower seeded teams now that we've seen a lot of exits from the higher ranked players.
Yeah, there's a reason why this is the season of upsets, man.
It really is. I think I don't have anything else to add into this match. Do you?
No, me neither. Like I've said it before. It's like an embarrassment of riches. The content we're getting.
It really is, and it's not even like that. We're getting blowout matches every week. Each one of them is a nail biter. I'm so excited to see.
It's consistently good.
Yeah, consistently good, consistently entertaining, and I think evolving. It's crazy that this deep into the tournament, my opinion about a player can change.
Mm-hmm.
But it can. That's the magic of the Schmoedown.
Yes, sir.
Now, Soda,
Yeah.
if people want to find your magic, where could they find that?
You can find me over at Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. As always, you can find me here on Schmoedown 9 in Canada and on Northern Consultations, which, like I said earlier, we've got Tim Sim dropping. You said it was tomorrow?
It is tomorrow, as long as I haven't messed anything up.
Okay, and then should we say what the one after that is, or should we just leave it as a mystery?
It's a mystery.
Okay, definitely watch that one. Unbiased, biased, whatever. Probably the best one we've done. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. So yeah, you can find me there. You can find me over on the Media Sweaties Network as one of the co-hosts of Get Sweaty, where we break down the week in movie news, sports, and we dissect our top 5 topics of whatever. This upcoming week, I chose top 5 documentaries.
Oh, I love that. I will definitely be checking it.
Yeah, I did. My thing was no docuseries. It has to be either feature length or short length documentaries.
Oh, can you give me a little tease? Can you tell me one? Don't tell me the position. Just tell me one that's on there.
Okay, it is this. You're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. It is a documentary on Mount Everest that I discovered while I was incredibly baked one time, and it's from Nepal, narrated by Patrick Stewart.
Oh my good! I don't even know what that is. It sounds exciting. Yeah. I love documentaries.
I'll give you a little bit of it.
Andy, I can't hear me talking about it.
I can't find it anymore, but basically the premise is it follows a group of Sherpas who have to go up the mountain and retrieve a body. And clean up a lot of the garbage, because they said in like the 100 years that people have been climbing up there, there's like 100,000 tons of garbage up there.
Jeez, well, yeah. We're gonna talk more about this.
Numbers might be wrong. It's quite a lot of garbage up there. It's definitely in like the thousands of tons.
We're gonna talk about this more because I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
but if you want to stay intrigued, make sure you subscribe to Schmoes of the North on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and check out our Facebook page. We have a lot of great communities, community building there with a lot of fantastic, nice, wholesome people. You don't have to be Canadian to join. Just search Schmoes of the North on Facebook and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so where can we find you, L. Dave?
L. Dave can be found at Leaves Me Alone on Twitter, but like I say, I'm a terrible follow. Follow Schmoes of the North instead if you only have one follow.
Yeah, or follow his Instagram or as you call it, Footagram.
It's Footstagram, and I don't talk about that. That naturally grows
like a fungus. So with that, that brings an end to the episode. Y'all have a good evening.
Bye.